It's Nolan. Now, before we get started, make sure y'all hitting that like button. Make sure y'all sharing it on your respective platforms. Let somebody know what we're doing today. Now, let's get into the show. Comes back. 13 cops knocking, looking for my pops. It was at that very moment I said, fuck the ops. What kind of nerve you think I got for me to point them out the block? We on is always gonna be hot. We'll find another spot. Innocent stolen. Pop picture me rolling. Got good intentions that's growing. My hood depictions is potent. No luck. Picking up clovers. Chauvinistic environment. Show me the ropes. Homies just coping with pain and silence. It's my assignment to bring alignment. The struggles redefining. Mothers crying. Our brothers dying. Nobody bat an eye if you can't dunk like science. My homies preach about proprietors, but we don't try it. Won't even inquire, y'all. In this business, we see the gods like an average Joe. Don't give a fuck about equity if it's coming slow. That's why we lose and we just come and go. Muddy roads turn to muddy waters with a contract to sell your soul. This nigga Ye got more amendments than the Constitution. At some point should be some limits to this prostitution. If God made us in his image, then it's time to prove it. How the fuck they still giving us pennies for our contribution? What's going on, beautiful people? It's the kid J Nolan here. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Industry, your number one source for music, entertainment, commentary, and breakdowns. Hope everybody's doing well out there. In this episode, we're going to be getting into Joe Budden and the new interview he did with the New York Times. It's been long debated about just how much money Joe Budden and the Joe Budden podcast have been bringing in. They don't show you the amount of members that they have on their Patreon. They don't talk about the YouTube money. They don't talk about too much. But if you've ever tuned into the Joe Budden show in the last, I would say 2 years, then you know that they talk a lot about contracts, who's being renewed, when they're going into the renewal process, who wants a raise, all this type of stuff, especially when it comes to Flip, because he's always talking about contract negotiations in terms of the show and what he brings to the table, to the show, et cetera, et cetera. So people have always been wondering just how much money has the Joe Budden podcast been bringing in? You know, when they upgraded to the apartment that they shoot in, not only was that a thing, but also when Joe got that lawsuit for the lewdness thing of him sleepwalking or what have you. You know, it was some issues. I won't even say issues, but it was some people out there that were questioning how much money he was making because he was renting the spot. But this is a luxury apartment in which he had 2 of them in the building. Joe Budden now owns that building. He's no longer renting. It was just put out there. I think he paid like $2 million for that. So if anybody was questioning that, that's been answered as well. So there's definitely cash in circulation up there. A few weeks ago, Joe Budden had did like a post and delete of some blacked out numbers on the Patreon where it was estimated that they were making in the upwards of $900,000 per month just on the Patreon only. That's without YouTube. That also sparked a lot of debates, a lot of talk, a lot of conversation. And since that happened, Joe and his manager Ian have now done an interview with the New York Times to give a little bit of a glimpse, well, a more in-depth glimpse into the finances of the podcast, what they're generating, how the money's coming in. And they are projected to bring in around $20 million in the calendar year of 2025. $20 million off a podcast, right? And that's with no major platform behind them. They do have Prize Picks as a sponsor for ads, but they're not associated with, a bigger podcast network. They are the podcast network, right? So that's not like Gillian Wallow getting money from Barstool Sports or others who are out there, under the Underdog banner or under the Shannon Sharp banner. Like, this is Joe's shit. He owns it. He's running it, and he's cutting all the checks. You know what I mean? Which also sparked some controversy in the Twitter sphere because Brandon Jennings from the Gilbert Arenas show, Brandon Jennings used to play in the NBA. He also used to be very tight with Maul. They used to be good friends. He basically came out and responded to Joe's success, the numbers coming out, turning down, I believe it was a $40 million deal or something like that from Spotify. And he basically said, good for Joe. He got rid of Salt and Pepper, as in Rory and Mal, and the show went up. Not Mal, but Rory responded to him on social media. We're going to get into all of that later. But first, let's get into the actual article where all of this was revealed. All right, here we are. So, New York Times, they say, how does this podcast star make $20 million a year? And off rip, they capping. It's a projected $20 million for this year. They didn't make that last year. All right. But I guess moving forward, that'll be the benchmark. Okay. This is an article written by Jessica Testa. The podcaster Joe Budden, an ex-rapper who has been called the Howard Stern of hip hop. And I think that kind of has stuck, because of the vulgarity, the aggression, kind of having that edge. Joe doesn't have that edge anymore. His edge has been fizzled out. Similar, I guess, to Howard Stern eventually kind of, chilling out a little bit in his latter years. But anyway, wanted to flex a little. He accidentally overflexed. Last month, he posted a screenshot of his traffic from Patreon, a subscription service that allows fans to pay creators directly through monthly contributions. It showed more than 30 million visits in 30 days. Revenue figures on the Patreon data had been scribbled over, but sleuths manipulated the image, and to them, it appeared that he had earned more than $900,000, a number that made headlines. Yet that was just his earnings from the month of June. Overall, the Joe Budden Network is on pace to generate more than $20 million this year, according to its chief executive, Ian Schwartzman. That's also Joe's manager. He also manages DJ Premier. Mr. Budden agreed to share those and other details about his podcast business with the New York Times, offering a rare window into the economics of podcasting. Publishers of shows rarely share details of their revenue or even their download or streaming figures. They want to maintain a competitive edge in the advertising marketplace and, like many private businesses, simply aren't keen to open their books. Mr. Budden's reason for releasing figures now, he said in an interview, goes beyond flexing. He and Mr. Schwartzman want to make a broader argument for maintaining independence as creators. This is something that he's always advocated for on his platform. Even if his takes have gotten exponentially safer, they still have remained independent. All right. They did add ads with Prize Picks, which for many years he was against, but I guess that was too much to even turn down, I would guess. They have been podcasting for a decade. Although they spent 2 years working exclusively with Spotify, they are not affiliated with any outside podcast network or media company today. The money coming in. So far this year, the Joe Budden Network has earned an average of $1.04 million per month on Patreon. So that 90,000 figure that we saw wasn't even the biggest month, because they've been averaging 1.04 mil. God damn. It has about 70,000 paying subscribers. Subscriptions range from $5 to $50 per month, with higher tiers granted access to more episodes, including from spin-off shows. 2 weekly episodes of the flagship podcast are released free to the general public. This means its 2025 subscription revenue will probably exceed $12 million, enough to make Mr. Budden the top earner on the crowdfunding platform. So They coming out and saying Joe Budden Podcast is the biggest on Patreon. That status and Mr. Budden's figures were confirmed by a spokeswoman for Patreon. So even if you thought there was capping, they actually have people from Patreon in the executive suites, I guess you could say, that are confirming what's being released. They say, but subscriptions are not the podcast's only revenue stream. Advertising also generates several $1 million. Mr. Budden's company sells its own ads, unlike many other top podcasters who team up with large networks like iHeart, Wondery, or SiriusXM and split the ad revenue. These companies typically offer hosts an upfront check, a minimum guarantee, but control the rates and the number of commercials played each episode. Mr. Schwartzman said the company tried to not oversaturate our audience with ads. usually working with a maximum of only 3 sponsors at any given time. The network's smaller revenue sources include money from passive advertisements on social media platforms, like the ads that play automatically during his YouTube videos, where Mr. Budden has more than 1.5 million followers. He was an early adopter in 2016 of video podcasting. The company also sells merchandise and licenses some of its content, which is also cha-ching. Now, the money going out. The Joe Budden Network employs more than 30 independent contractors in roles such as production and administrative support. Okay? 30 employees, more than 30 employees. And of course, this is where things get a little tricky for some people who reading comprehension isn't all the way all that great, because a lot of people say, oh, Joe Budden is making $20 million, but the other hosts are only splitting 1.5 million. Well, that's because there's 5 daily hosts. Then you got Imani, who comes in from time to time, and whoever guests come in. But even outside of them, there's 30 more people that got to get paid. We only know about who's getting paid on camera. Anyway, let's continue. Payment of these contractors and the on-air talent is the company's biggest expense. For example, more than 1.5 million annually goes to the co-hosts of the Joe Budden podcast. All right. They include Trevor Robinson, known as Queen's Flip. That's 1. Mark Lamont Hill. That's 2. Melissa Ford. That's 3. Parks Vallely. That's 4. Antoine Marby, known as Ish. That's 5. And Lamar Burney, known as Ice. That's 6. Okay. So 6 regular on-air host talent that we see all the time. You divide that by 6, that's $250,000 per host. Okay, so they're getting somewhere close to $250,000 a year, $250,000 a year. Okay, so if you wonder why they so happy to go up there and speak as uninformed as they could possibly be about topics, is because they doing 2 days of work per week, and they're making in the upwards of 5 racks a month, damn near $2,500 a day. They go up there 2 days a week, $2,500. $2,500, right? Not to mention they get the last week of the year off for vacation. So I would go up there and talk about bullshit for $250 my goddamn self. Okay. Do y'all need an extra mic? $250. We moving to Jersey. Fuck out of here. I'm just saying. Anyway. After inadvertently flashing some of his revenue to 1.7 million Instagram followers, Mr. Budden joked that now everybody's asked for a raise. They tell, hey, what about 300? You had to do 300 worth of work. Anyway, other costs include production fees, marketing expenses, and real estate. The company is in the process of purchasing for roughly $2 million the waterfront condominium unit in Edgewater, New Jersey, where it records audio and video for the Joe Budden podcast. It currently rents the unit. Residents in the building have complained about sharing space with the operation, but I do believe at the time, because I think a couple weeks ago they said it was officially theirs. So this may have been written before they closed. They say how he got here. Mr. Budden's approach reflects an emerging trend among podcasters and creators, a desire for more autonomy and equity in every deal with fewer middlemen. Learning this lesson took time. In 2017, while Mr. Budden was co-hosting a show on the culture website Complex, we were just getting by, Schwartzman said. I was on an allowance, Mr. Budden said, $500 a week. So that was the amount of money he was allowing himself to spend, was $500 a week back in 2017 while he was on Everyday Struggle. And doing the podcast, of course, because they was making money back then. Don't let that $500 a week allowance fool you. But he was saving. Then, from 2018 to 2020, the Joe Budden podcast had a licensing agreement with Spotify that paid the show less than $2 million per year. Schwartzman said the deal included no shares in advertising revenue or stock, and the podcast could be published only to Spotify, okay? And around the time that this deal went sour, we had people like Charlemagne that said Joe Budden was an idiot and he was always going to find a way to fuck up the money. Well, 2018 to 2020, they were making $2 million per year. 2025, they're about to make 20 in 1 year. Hey man, love or hate the nigga, he's giving you a blueprint. After a rather acrimonious split, the podcast sought a new partner, but the right deal never materialized. One potential contract would have paid $44 million over 2 years, for example, but required removing all content from YouTube. So somebody wanted to buy them out completely and wanted to take them off YouTube. The bigger the money gets, the more strings that are attached, Schwartzman said. We wanted someone to acknowledge how valuable we were by showing that they would be comfortable giving us skin in the game. Patreon came along in 2021, offering no guaranteed check, but equity in the company and advisory roles for Budden and Schwartzman. So this has also been a subject of contention. People have said, you know, Joe Budden came out here and said he was like a head of creator equity or something at Patreon. People have joked about that position. But again, they have executives from Patreon actually speaking in this interview to confirm. So they say Joe is in a league of his own, says Jack Conte, chief executive of Patreon. It is not common for people to make $1 million a month on Patreon. The Joe Budden Network reached that milestone in November, maintaining it every month since. Recently, subscription platforms like Patreon and its younger competitor Substack, which has been growing in popularity, have pushed more aggressively for podcasters to sign up, promising independence and control of their intellectual property, sometimes with grand language about a media revolution. Creators have more leverage and control than actually ever before in the history of the arts, Mr. Conte said. This year, Substack announced a $20 million fund to help entice creators away from Patreon and other rivals. These platforms also benefit from taking a roughly 10% cut of creators' earnings, which, let me tell y'all might say, damn, 10%. 10% ain't shit. Over here on YouTube, they taking 45. Don't let nobody fool you. YouTube take 45. You ain't even getting over. Because of the ads that they get the money from the advertisers, and y'all get to view freely unless you're paying for premium. But that's how this works over here, in case no one ever told you. Podcasters on Patreon earned more than $472 million collectively in 2024, up 35% from 2023, according to the company. And I guess it's as good time as any to say, come join J Nolan over on Patreon, patreon.com/real J Nolan. All right. Where the unfiltered, unedited, uncopyright claimed or stricken videos, the reactions that y'all be asking for, shall live. Okay. Yet many creators still feel daunted when they even hear the word paywall, Mr. Budden said. Given the success of Joe Rogan or Alex Cooper, it may seem more attractive to a young podcaster to pursue a big network deal, which is why, after the screenshot blunder, Mr. Budden opted to disclose his independent earnings for the first time here. Even if it made him and his business partner uncomfortable to put any money situation out there for the public and competitors to see, Mr. Schwartzman said, how else will they know they can do it this way? So that's the end of the thing here. But what I also want to get here is this piece where it says the state of podcasting. I find this to be very interesting. So they say, which podcasts rule YouTube? For the first time, the most popular platform for consuming podcasts has published its ranking of top podcasts in the United States. I'm not going to click on that, but we're going to go into more of these little anecdotes here. Oral histories. These compelling shows dig into momentous political and cultural moments through the voices of the people who were there. Manosphere for women, they say. Dear Media operates the largest network of podcasts for women. Its nearly 100 shows are as freewheeling and chummy as those in the Manosphere, similarly hosted by comedians and content creators. I'm sure y'all have heard a lot about content being in the Manosphere. and they're talking about the opposite for women, which I think either way you go can be a dangerous subsect of content for people to engage in. Then they go here to Daryl Cooper. He's no scholar, but legions of fans, many on the right, can't seem to resist what he presents as hidden truths. And lastly, Theo Vaughn, the comedian and podcaster, is one of the defining conversationalists of media's new MAGA-friendly mainstream. MAGA-friendly mainstream. But he can be harder to pin down politically and culturally than his broadcast peers. Okay? This is why I felt that this was interesting to go through. Because they're basically outlining the most popular string of content. Manosphere for women, which I guess would be like some might say extreme feminism. Those two spectrums going head to head, the man versus woman, who pays for the date? Is $100 too much to pay for on a date? All that shit. And then you have the MAGA friendly mainstream. Those are the most popular genres that people are engaging with in our country. Okay? So when you wonder why voices like J Nolan or others that you may like that aren't at the same level, it's because we don't make that type of content. I know for me, I certainly don't make manosphere content, because as much as I am a man, I don't fuck with a lot of men. I get into it sometimes, when I speak about subject matter related to the women in hip hop, or just subject matter about women in general. I'm harder on men because I know where we come from. I know what it is to be a man in this country, and I know how it is to just stay out of shit. You know what I'm saying? So I do go harder on men because my expectations are higher, right? But if you made content that was more so in the manosphere, niggas be blowing the fuck up. I just seen FD Signifier saying the same thing, and he has a big channel, right? So again, be sure to like and share these videos, your favorite creators. Y'all come over here, y'all tune in, y'all fuck with us, help us grow, all right? But let's get into this whole Rory and Brandon Jennings piece. All right. So Ahmed is a viral Twitter account. I don't even know, who that is. But they say Joe Budden podcast left a 2-year, $44 million deal with Spotify. You misinterpreted what was happening there. I'm sorry. You misquoted. Anyway, and now making $1 million a month on Patreon. Okay? So they say Joe deserves it. Or maybe that was Patreon. They didn't actually, maybe it was Spotify, but they didn't put the name on whose offer that was. But Brandon says Joe deserves it. He got rid of Salt and Pepper, Rory and Mal. Business started booming, and the cast is way better, man. Okay? So, again, this is an ex-friend of Mal. So he's socking it to him, saying, "Oh, Joe got the bag coming in, and he got rid of you fucking flunkies." Because he don't fuck with Rory and Mal, because he don't fuck with Mal no more. Right? So then Rory catches wind, and he responds to Brandon Jennings and says, "Last time I saw Tough Crowd," that's Brandon, "was at Highlight Room." I'm guessing that's a club in New York. "He went out of his way to speak to me, to tell me how much he respected how I handled everything with the Joe shit. Also called Joe a goofy." So he said, "Last time I seen you was after the split happened. You came up to me in the club. You showed me love. You say you respect how motherfuckers handle this shit. You said Joe is a goofy. And now you out here congratulating him and acting like he your best friend. You all up in the video, all up in the song, ad-libbing in the background when you were smiling in my face." He says, "I said until you and Mal settle y'all shit, I don't even feel comfortable speaking." He said, "Hey man, I appreciate that, homie. But until you and Mal get y'all stuff together, I really don't want to be out in public yucking it up with you because my homie ain't seeing eye to eye with you. He said, I respect that. Can I send you some merch? Now, if you don't know about Brandon Jennings and his Tough Crowd brand, he's getting that shit off like motherfucking Milk Duds at the movie theater, okay? Especially if we're talking 2020, 2021. He was sending everybody a Tough Crowd pack, you know what I'm saying? Because he was trying to get his promotion and his marketing in, and he wanted people to wear that shit on popular podcasts, radio shows, TV, etc. He's sending it off to Steph Curry, like, so he was offering that shit to any and everybody who would accept it. So when he says that, he said, "Can I send you some merch?" I'm not surprised by that. Rory says, "Strike my daughter down if I'm lying. This is some real weirdo shit. You can just congratulate Joe on his successes. I don't even know you like that." So Rory says, "I don't mind you congratulating Joe. Like, let him have that. But why we got to be a part of it?" He said, "I don't even know you like that. Why you being weird to me?" Brandon responds, "In 2021, this is Rory. When I saw you in the corner, teary-eyed," he was in the club teary-eyed. He was in the club in the corner teary-eyed. Damn. I don't know. "Yes, I did come up to you and say, keep your head. And if you wanted gear, that was it." Brandon, I just described how badly you was getting off your shit. You was offering that gear to anybody who had a back and a forehead. No shots, but the people that witnessed it, we saw it. He says, "We never spoke on Ma or Joe. Don't do that. You was in the club looking for sympathy. That's not the place you go for sympathy, especially not from another man. You got the little attention you wanted. Relax, buddy." Now, I got to be honest, Brandon. It's been revealed in recent times you're a little strange, bro. And this ain't no shot because I don't know you. You was a dope basketball player. I won't take nothing from you in that regard. But you be on some weird shit. Right? Now, I remember when Miko was getting ready to leave the Gilbert Arenas show, and she said that you would threaten her with your girlfriend to whoop her ass. Now, I don't know what that was about. I think she said something about Karl Malone, if I'm not mistaken. That's what it was. She said, "Fuck Karl Malone." And y'all know Karl Malone, ex-NBA player. He was also known for having some sort of nasty affair with his stepdaughter or something like that when she was a child, I believe. That's the story. And she says that Brandon Jennings, after the show took place, he approached her and said, "Yo, you can't be out here saying fuck Karl Malone," because I think it was something about his girlfriend, his fiance. I don't know if they've, exchanged vows yet or anything like that. But he was basically saying that Karl Malone is like an uncle or something, some sort of, patriarchal figure in his lady's life. He was like, "That shit ain't cool. Y'all, you can't do that on camera up here with me. It's going to be a problem." And Miko said, "Yo, what the fuck? I was just being real. Fuck that nigga. If he's having a relationship with a minor, that's what it is." And he threatened to have her ass whooped, right? And a lot of people overlooked it because they didn't like Miko. They overlooked it because Miko was a little bit annoying. They overlooked it because, she was trying to be the eye candy of the show. So she would wear these like little tops and stuff and call herself eye candy. A lot of people had their own opinions about who she was. They felt she was a little cringe. But as much as they were shooting the messenger, I think the message was pretty clear. So I know a lot of people have forgotten about that situation, but I covered it on my channel. So I can't. So I got my eye on you, brother. I don't want no problems. But can't turn a blind eye to what I see. But y'all let me know what y'all think of all this down below in the comments from Joe having this article with New York Times exposing the finances. Again, I see some people trying to make it seem like Joe's making all this money and he's making $20 million a year and only paying 1.5 to the cast. Yes. They getting $250 a year to show up 2 days a fucking week. Okay? Now, if you showing up to your job 2 days a week to make $250,000, tell me what you doing. Okay? You're probably a CFO. You probably doing something. You know what I mean? You probably high ranking. These niggas ain't high ranking. They're on air talent. They don't even be knowing the shit that they talking about on the show. For $250, I'll forget the shit I know and go do it. Go find somebody else to do it. I will. Fuck you talking about. But let me know what you think of it. The Brandon Jennings Rory situation. Let me know what y'all think of that. I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one. Y'all be good out there. Peace. King of my city and cul-de-sac. Coming out swinging like soldier rag. Leading my people like quarterback. Boy, I study this shit, I'm an almanac. Had to get up and grind. Knowledge is booming, I'm here to apply. Came with the chip and the dip, it just single the mile. We finna do more than survive. I need my check. Spinning the block for the Gouda. We hitting the jeweler to flood out the net. We don't do beef for computers, I'm straight out the sewer. We come when you rest. Niggas be looking perplexed, so keeping my foot on their neck. No map, I trust my gut for the quest. With drama, I'm fully abreast. I was ready for years and they doubted me. All of a sudden they tell me they proud of me. I been dropping these haters like calories. Cross them out, I came back with some boundaries. Stand for my honor, but too raw, no corner. Packing the stick with a drummer. When I catch my bad, won't fumble. I done came too far to be humble.